Let's move to our today's topic. Our today's topic is artificial intelligence, emerging issues of law and society. And our speakers will be Dr. Donna Ann Dulo and Dr. Simone. Dr. Donna Ann Dulo is a computer scientist, software engineer, aviation legal analyst, and cybersecurity analyst. She was with the Department of Defense for 35 years as a computer scientist and aviation cybersecurity and software safety engineer. She's currently the program chair for computer science at Sofia University. And Dr. Simone is the professor of Sofia University and the director of Sofia University's virtual writing lab. And she's also at the board of directors, founder of She Empowers Leaders Mississippi. So Dr. Dulo will present the current legal challenges facing AI, including copyright issues and defamation. And Dr. Simone will present emerging social issues such as bias, privacy, and impersonation. Together, they will discuss pressing issues that challenge AI users and developers. So let's welcome our speakers, and I will end my sharing and give the screen to them.
Okay, thank you, Susie. My name is Donna Dulo, and I'll be talking about the law and emerging artificial intelligence. And then Dr. Matteo will take over and talk about AI and society. And then we'll talk about some of our programs at Sofia, and then we'll field some questions. So the issue of emerging technology law is an issue that's been with laws ever since the beginning of law. For example, your technology is always going to be ahead of your law. Why? Because it takes a long time for your legal representatives, for your congressional representatives, for your government to actually understand what's happening and then create laws to actually regulate it. So your technology law can actually lag behind your actual technology by years or even decades. For example, train law in the 1800s, it took several hundred accidents and several thousand deaths before the United States government actually enacted viable technological laws to help prevent safety issues and to make the railways safer. Aviation law is a great case study because aviation basically started in the first decade of 1900. It took almost 50 years before viable regulations were put forth into the aviation industry. And it wasn't even until 1972 where people could actually sue an airliner if it crashed, because crashes were considered previously as an act of God. And even worse, it wasn't even until 1998 when the first criminal culpability was bestowed upon a carrier for an aircraft crash. So basically, we're looking at almost 80 or 90 years before the law actually caught up in the aviation industry. In many cases, it's going to take accidents, mishaps, adverse effects, sometimes death, crimes, or even a monetary incentive before legal change is going to happen in these areas. And it's happened, for example, cyberbullying. We've had the internet around really for people since the early 1980s through bulletin boards and chat rooms back then. And it wasn't really until the mid 2000s when we actually had anti-bullying laws established. So you have, many, many years. Medical law is the same way. And even more so, we have cyber and software law. And these laws we're going to talk about more in the coming slides. So the more complex your technology is, the more difficult it is to create regulations. Number one, because your legislators aren't going to understand a lot of the technology. And also a lot of the technological issues aren't going to arise until something happens that acts as your catalysts. So users of that technology are often in the dark as far as what your law is actually going to be. So if you have an emerging technology, you're not going to know what the laws are on how you can use your product, what customers that you can have, and what's going to happen to you if somebody or something gets harmed or destroyed because of your technology. So legal uncertainty is a arises pretty much with every emerging technology, and the laws are going to be nebulous, or even worse, non-existent. So you can always say you have kind of like a Wild West in the legal arena when you have new and emerging technologies. And software especially is even worse because software is exponentially complex. It's intangible. You can't actually touch your software. It's very difficult to understand. And it's also very unfamiliar to a lot of legislators. So it's hard to actually get software law onto the books unless that software has some damaging effects to either people or to property. Now let's look at artificial intelligence law, because this is the big thing right now. There's a lot of AI happening in the world. There's a lot of applications that are being put forth in the world. And so to understand where artificial intelligence law is going to go, we need to see where AI actually came from. Now, research began in the 1950s with the Turing test of Alan Turing back in 1950, where he stated, can you tell the difference between a person and a computer that is communicating with you? So that was pretty much the genesis of the concept of artificial intelligence. Now, it wasn't for another 6 years at the Dartmouth 1956 AI conference where the term artificial intelligence was actually coined. They tended to call it machine intelligence or intelligence within a machine. But AI, artificial intelligence, was coined in that conference and has continued ever since. But 1950 to 2023, where is AI law? It's nowhere to be seen pretty much. And that's why it's important as users and as creators of artificial intelligence, it's important that you understand how to predict what's going to happen with your product as far as the law. So law begins to emerge when bad things start to happen, right? Because laws are meant to protect us. So they're meant to protect society. They're meant to protect the vulnerable. So law begins when there are accidents happening, or theft, or some type of physical or mental injury to people, where there's some sort of a liability or monetary gain or loss, or some type of damage. And unfortunately, most legislators don't have the gift of foresight, so they're not going to create laws that precede the technology. They're going to create laws that follow the technology. And as I said, it can often be years, decades, or even half centuries. So we're going to go over just a few legal cases that are very recent, up in basically the past month or so, in emerging artificial intelligence. Most of these cases surround ChatGPT, because ChatGPT has come onto the scene very recently, the past few months. And it's very interesting to see the legal cases that are starting with ChatGPT. And the very interesting thing is it didn't take very long. So this is kind of like counter to the normal technology law doctrine, where it takes a while. Actually, these cases are coming up fairly quickly, and it's important if you are involved in artificial intelligence, if you use ChatGPT or you're creating some type of artificial intelligence engine, it's very important to follow these cases so that you can keep yourself protected from any of the harms that somebody may suffer at the hand of your product, whether it's intentional or unintentional, because culpability and negligence can both get you in a lot of hot water with the law. So the first one is a false legal document that was created by two lawyers. These two lawyers were briefing an aviation law case in a court. And what they did is they used ChatGPT to develop their briefing for the case. And unfortunately, they did not check the references. They had too much faith in ChatGPT. And what happened was they had false sources. And the law that they cited in this document was false. So the judge identified the fact that the lawyers filed a fictitious legal case because it was not based off of their research. It was based off of the research of an artificial entity. And what the judge did, he relied on current laws requiring lawyers to file accurate documents. So here we didn't really need an artificial intelligence law. We just needed general jurisprudence, which basically says lawyers need to be honest and accurate in their filings. And he basically said that the lawyers abandoned their responsibilities when they submitted non-existent judicial opinions with fake quotes and citations created by the artificial intelligence. And actually, even after this case, another lawyer in another state tried to do the same thing, and that lawyer was sanctioned as well. So this case gives a major warning to the legal community about artificial intelligence. It is not as precise as you think, and it is only as strong as the algorithms that are underlying. And apparently with ChatGPT, the legal citation, the legal references, the legal reasoning is not developed at all. So these lawyers basically suffered. Each one got a $5,000 fine and a big ding to their reputation because of this use of ChatGPT. Very recently, a Florida radio host sued OpenAI, which is the maker of ChatGPT, charging that ChatGPT defamed him. The radio host says that ChatGPT accused him of producing texts that accuse him of felonious activity involving financial fraud. And he basically he felt that his reputation because of this was damaged, and so he sued for defamation. Now, in the legal realm, defamation, the defense of defamation is truth. So if he said that he was defamed, but it was actually true, then his lawsuit would go nowhere. But unfortunately, even OpenAI admitted that the chat bot produced untrue information, which is called in the AI world a hallucination. So this gentleman does have a case against OpenAI, and he's not the first one. There was a mayor in Australia just a couple weeks before this who was accused of a crime in a ChatGPT generated document, when actually he was the whistleblower of that crime. And unfortunately, the people who ran his name through ChatGPT published what ChatGPT actually said, and he has a lawsuit going as well. So this is a legal can of worms with ChatGPT and the issues of libel or defamation, because if something is not true and you bring it up against somebody, they can sue you for defamation. Of course, unless they're a genuine public figure, and public figures do not have this protection in many cases. There's a class action suit against ChatGPT that was just filed this week for copyright infringement. And the class action lawsuit, which is basically a lawsuit where many people join in as a class and sue with their own set of lawyers against an entity. So these group of people have come together and are claiming that ChatGPT stole their data by gathering giant swaths of information from the internet, which is called data scraping. And what they're claiming that ChatGPT is doing is misappropriating their data, invading their privacy, and then using their personal data to make money, to gain a profit. So this is, a theft of their privacy. It's a theft of their intellectual property. And they're claiming that their data is their intellectual property, and thus are filing against OpenAI a copyright infringement case. And this just came out. So again, we're watching this case very closely. And there's another product called Stability AI. And it's what's called a parasite app, or a parasitic application. Basically what it does, it again, like ChatGPT, scrapes information from the internet, but instead of just scraping text, it scrapes pieces of photographs, pieces of digital artwork, something that was created by somebody else or a photograph that was taken by somebody else, taking that and then putting it into something else where it might be a new picture, it might be a new artistic work, but it has pieces of work from other people where it concatenates it together and calls it an original work. But there is no originality in this. Everything that's put in the output of the Stability AI basically belongs to somebody else. So the claim against Stable Diffusion Engine, which is the company, is that it scrapes online images and text and artwork and then puts it together and steals the intellectual property and the copyright of the artists. And by doing this, it creates art based on that data and is essentially stealing the money that the original artist would have gotten for their original artwork. So basically, profits are made on these new images that Stability AI creates. However, the artists are not given royalties. And so this class action lawsuit was started by Getty Images because Getty Images had a lot of their photographs stolen. And then artists who are harmed by this have joined in for this class action lawsuit. And this actually just came down yesterday. So this is another legal case that we need to watch to see what happens, because the result of these lawsuits is going to determine the actual law, because you can have law made by either legislators or you can have law that's actually created by the courts and the court rulings. So by watching these courts, we can see how the judges are going to rule and then what type of law is going to be created against these types of cases. So what can we do as people who are in the business of artificial intelligence, whether we create the software, whether we use the software, or whether we use the products of the software, where, like I said, it's good to follow current cases and court rulings, because this is where you're going to get your initial laws. And then once courts make the laws, then usually the legislatures will jump in and create actual laws at the federal, state, and local levels for that specific technology. You can also look to related law. Now, one of my areas of expertise is drone law. I wrote the first drone law book in the world. And what I did was I didn't have law to write a book about. So what I looked to was general aviation law. I looked at the federal aviation regulations. And in my book, what I did was I put those regulations together to see what kinds of laws would be applicable to drones. And in a lot of cases, some of the chapters of my book were actually implemented into federal law. But I had to look at the current law, what is happening, and how are related objects, things, domains, how are they being treated by the law? We can also relate to different areas of law. For example, intellectual property. We can look at copyright law. We can look at patent law. We can look at trademark law. We can look at trade secret law to see how they would relate to an action that's happening in emerging artificial intelligence. We can also look at monetary and fraud law. How would our actions as an AI entity affect somebody in terms of fraud? Are we stealing or are we borrowing? Do we have a right to images? If it's freeware, can we take it and use it? Or are there other implications besides that issue? And then defamation is a very big issue where we say things about somebody that is not true. And ChatGPT seems to be doing this extremely well these days. And so I predict there's going to be a lot of defamation lawsuits coming in the near future based off of documents that are created by ChatGPT, then subsequently published as fact or published as a news story. We can also use legal thinking and reasoning. So when we develop something or we use something, we can say to ourselves, am I using it ethically? Am I using it in a way that's not going to cause harm? Can I make a reasonable profit without hurting other people's property rights or copyright rights? Can I say something about somebody and make sure that it's actually true, so that I can't be, charged with libel or defamation? So it's always good to think about things, and also ensure the new technology is not causing harm. Now, it just came out the other day that artificial intelligence is creating child pornography. So we know child pornography is illegal, but the question is, who will be charged for that child pornography? Will it be the creator of the artificial intelligence engine? Will it be the person who generated it? Will it be the person or website that distributed it? Or will it be the ultimate end user who used it, or a combination of everyone? So that kind of question has not been asked. But we need to see, who caused the harm, what type of harm can be done, and is our software actually causing that type of harm? So it's very important to be cognizant of the law. The law is very nebulous right now in terms of artificial intelligence, but as users, as developers, and as people who are involved, we need to use our brains. And we need to say, what I'm doing right? Is what I'm doing ethical? And is what I am doing, is it causing harm? So that's basically it right now for artificial intelligence and emerging law. Just the key point: follow the cases. I will be following them very carefully and very closely, because our laws are going to be changing rapidly. The laws are going to be emerging, and it's important as practitioners in artificial intelligence, machine learning, data, natural language processing, etc. We need to know the implications of the use of our products. And so now I'll send it off to Dr. Matteo, who's going to talk about the very exciting social aspects of artificial intelligence. Simone, please.
Thank you. That was so fascinating. How fast the cases are coming up now in the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots to watch. So thank you everyone for having me here today. I am part of Sofia University, and I am in charge of bringing AI into the university. So Donna and I are talking about AI all the time, and it's great to have somebody who has the legal background and the technical background. I have more of the user and end user background. So I'm going to talk about engaging with AI and the social issues, and just to kind of put the perspective around the popularity of engaging with AI. So Facebook, it took about 4 years for them to attain 100 million users. Let's say TikTok, it was about 2.5 years. And ChatGPT, it was about 2 months. Now, ChatGPT came out in November of 2022. So that would mean that by the beginning of the new year, they had 100 million users that fast. So if you could hit the next slide. Thanks, Donna. So I recently went to a university worldwide event seminar, and the attendees were from everywhere, 500 people plus, and we were asked to put in how we were feeling about AI. And I chose to share this because there's some big feels out there about AI from a social perspective. And that is creating a lot of anxiety, a lot of curiosity, excitement, fear. It's all over the board because we are in the initial phases of adopting AI into our world. And the social impact, so if you could flip to the next slide. Thanks. The social impacts right now, as of today, because it's constantly changing and new ones are being added to this list, include things like disparate impact. And so that is the algorithms choosing to make a decision that is based on the information they're receiving. So I'll give you an example. So applicants are being received and more male applicants, and this is actually a real life example, were applying for this position. And because more males were applying, the algorithm in the AI decided that a male would be better suited for this position and started filtering out the female applicants. So it can make this decision, and that is the difference between the AI of today versus the AI of yesterday. Yesterday, it would have been something that there was an expected result. It would have been programmed to filter out the female applicants. It doesn't work that way now. Now, the AI makes that decision. So it's really important to watch out for things like this in the case of like recruitment or hiring or any kind of research, because that AI makes that decision, and unless you're on top of it or you're in the loop of the information, you won't see it. It also can put out bias. The whole world of data is human related, and bias is inherent in our human data, and all of these AI models are being trained on human data. So there is naturally going to be bias in the machines learning, and the perpetuation of that bias and putting it back out is what we're working to create algorithms to stop that. And that algorithm that unintentionally produces that bias can come out in so many different ways to create a, sort of systematic prejudice in the machine learning process. Donna mentioned hallucinations earlier, and hallucinations can range anything from it saying something that is untrue to quoting sources that are not real to making stuff up. Hallucinations are a direct result of the AI not knowing the information that it is being requested of. So if it doesn't have an answer, it will lie, and hallucinate is the term that the AI industry has chosen. That in turn can create misinformation, disinformation, or the propagation of untruthful information. And that comes from people not validating the information. So if I put in a response, I'm going to validate everything that comes out in. If I put in a prompt, I'm going to validate everything that comes out in the response. And not everybody is doing that. A lot of people are putting their faith in the AI, as Donna mentioned earlier, to give them the truth. And that's not realistic, given the biases, given the disparate impact that can occur, given the hallucinations it can create, and it can also impersonate and create deep fakes. So I think we all may have seen the picture of the Pentagon being bombed. That was a deep fake. It was created and put out there, and the news agencies picked up on it, and that can create a lot of anxiety and a lot of misinformation. And then there was a story recently, just the end of last week, with one of the reporters on a news channel who allowed his voice to be recorded by the AI, and the AI turned around just a very short amount of time. It only takes about 3 seconds for the AI to record your voice, turned it around and sent the message back out that he was kidnapped and, pretended to be calling his wife and family and that sort of thing. So the first thing I'm going to say about that sort of situation is call the police. Don't stop. Just go straight to the police if you figure that out. The ability for the AI to create pictures, images of you or anyone else, your voice, copy or impersonate your voice. Those are very detailed and very good copies. And so I want to just put it out there to be careful. Again, privacy is always going to be an issue when it comes to technology. The potential for data breaches, and we just had one with ChatGPT out on the dark web. 100,000 users were breached, and that creates the unauthorized access to your information and perpetuates fraud. So security is really important in your passwords, as well as keeping your information private. So not putting it out there if you don't want it to be found is important. As far as security and your passwords go, AI is cracking passwords much faster than humans thought it was possible. And so the recommendation is longer, more complicated, confusing passwords, changing them more often. And then surveillance comes into play. So AI can use information that it collects and analyze personal data that may violate your personal privacy and also create a surveillance situation where you don't want to be surveilled. So this last item that I'm going to talk about is job displacement, and there's definitely a lot of fear around this. AI can be used for repetitive tasks. So you may have a position where you're doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and it doesn't ever change. That is something an AI can take over and do for you. That could free you up to make more time to problem solve or create new responsibilities or collaborate with your team more of that human touch part of a position. With technology, jobs go away and new jobs come in. So it really depends on where you sit in your perspective about job placement. Some people feel that it's going to create a lot of economic distress. Others feel that it's going to enhance our economics and create more positions that are more meaningful. So not sure where you want to sit on that, but that's the reality of the situation. If you could change the slide for me, Donna. The really important part, I think that both Donna and I are making the point, is keeping humans in the loop, whether that's watching over the case laws or watching over the current things going on in the courtroom, watching how the responses of the AI come back and making sure that you use critical thinking and reasoning to ensure that the data is correct, making sure you're careful about your privacy. In all of those ways, we're keeping humans in the loop and humans on the loop. And this is a very strong message coming from all of the AI specialists, that the minute we take humans out of the loop with AI is the minute we cede over our power to the AI. And so we don't want that to happen. At this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Donna, right?
Yeah, thank you, Simone, very much for that very intriguing talk. Society and law, it's going to be revolutionized with artificial intelligence and with the advent of these new chatbots, which use language very proficiently. It's going to revolutionize academia. It's going to revolutionize the way we get news. It's going to revolutionize pretty much everything that we use for information transfer, information creation. So there's going to be good, there's going to be bad, and there's going to be ugly. So it's up to us to make sure that we keep ourselves in check, that we keep ourselves ethical, and that we use this technology for the betterment and the furtherment of humanity.
Agreed.
So thank you, Simone, for that wonderful talk. And I'd like to go into Sofia University's AI and data science technology programs. At Sofia University, we have a master's degree in computer science, and we offer these with concentrations in artificial intelligence and machine learning, data science, and cybersecurity. So we cover the full spectrum of artificial intelligence, from the hardware-based artificial intelligence in robotics, all the way to the software-based artificial intelligence in data science. So with this whole spectrum, we give students an opportunity to choose which area of artificial intelligence that they like, or they can study several different types. We also have graduate level certificates in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and also in cybersecurity. Now, our cybersecurity program is very heavily influenced by artificial intelligence and machine learning, because that's how we identify threats and identify solutions to those threats. So pretty much everything we study at Sofia University in the computer science program revolves around artificial intelligence and its subsets of machine learning, robotics, and data science. Our programs can be taken fully online, they can be taken on ground, and they can also be taken in hybrid formats where you have a portion of the class online and a portion of the class on ground. And we also have convenient weekends and online classes for all of our students. Now, we have a very good approach to computer science. In my opinion, we study theory. Now, this theory is our first principles of computer science. All students are grounded in the foundational elements, the first principles of computer science. But then we also focus on application, because we don't want it just to be a theoretical degree. We want you to be able to create things that transform humanity, that transform society, that transform the technology arena using strategic innovation. So with our theory, application, transformation, and innovation model, we present a holistic computer science program that helps the student create and innovate so that they can transform society and humanity. And here's an example of our computer science program where we have our core courses. And as you can see, some of the core courses are the theoretical and foundational principles of computer science. Then we move into applicable areas such as software engineering, data visualization, machine learning, and then as a student, you can choose your concentrations of artificial intelligence and machine learning, where we go into the mathematics and the algorithmic sides of AI and machine learning, robotics, and then our advanced AI and our advanced robotics classes. We also have our cybersecurity and information concentration, where we go into defense, we go into offense, we go into applied cryptography, and then we do advanced threat analysis through artificial intelligence and machine learning. And then we have our data science concentration, where we study the mathematics of data science. So we learn how to mine big data sets, we learn how to model our data, and then we learn the advanced topics in the field. So this is a very holistic program, starting from your artificial intelligence core, going through machine learning, robotics, and into data science, and ultimately cybersecurity. Our program is 42 credits and can be completed in as little as a year and a half. And our students come from all over the country, and they come from all over the world. And our classes are very hands-on, and we like to have a lot of applicable classes where we're building robots, where we're programming artificial intelligence, we're programming data science algorithms, because hands-on experience is absolutely vital. And we also have an MBA program that has a business data analytics concentration, and also a management of technology and innovation concentration, as well as a concentration in leadership and organizational effectiveness. So we can use our computer science courses as foundations for our MBA program, so that our MBA data analysts are well versed in the core principles of data science. And just like the MSCS program, Master of Science in Computer Science, the MBA program has online, on-ground, and hybrid formats and has convenient weekend and online classes. So that wraps up our lecture portion of the presentation.